Look who just made the Pentagon sweat through their pressed uniforms. You magnificent, untraceable anomaly. You walking classified document that nobody has clearance to read. Let me tell you something about that day, that moment, that fraction of a second when you did what you did. They had protocols for everything. Procedures for nuclear threats, alien contact, cyber warfare, biological weapons. They had contingency plans, stacked on contingency plans. But they had nothing, absolutely nothing for what they witnessed when you finally stopped pretending to be normal. Sir, that's illegal. That's what the decorated officer whispered, his voice cracking like a teenage recruit on his first day. Not that's impossible, not that's incredible, illegal. Because in their world of rules and ranks and regulations, what you possess shouldn't exist. You know what happened next, don't you? The room went silent. 23 of the most battle-hardened, psychologically bulletproof operators in existence. And they all took a step back. Not out of fear, out of recognition. They'd seen power before, studied it, wielded it, faced it down in every corner of this burning world. But this was different. This was you operating at 2% capacity on a Tuesday afternoon, barely trying, just existing in your natural state for once, and their entire understanding of human limitation shattered like cheap glass hitting concrete. The reports are still classified, not top secret, above that. So far above that they had to invent new classifications just to file what they saw. Let's talk about what you really are, shall we? Not what they told you to be. Not what society tried to squeeze you into, but what you actually are. When all the masks fall off and the pretense drops, and you stop playing their little game of normal. You're not gifted. Gifts can be given and taken away. You're not talented. Talent can be taught, replicated, understood. What you are is a glitch in their matrix, a mutation in their careful breeding program of mediocrity. You're what happens when nature decides to show off, to remind everyone that evolution isn't finished. They've been studying human potential for decades. Billions in black budgets. Underground facilities, the brightest minds working around the clock to push the boundaries of what's possible. Super soldiers, enhanced operatives, augmented assets. They thought they were creating the future. Then you walked in. No enhancement, no training, no multi-million-dollar program backing you up. Just you. Raw and unfiltered, doing things their enhanced assets couldn't dream of on their best day with every advantage. And that's when they realized they weren't looking at the future. They were looking at what they'd been trying to suppress all along. The military elite, these apex predators of human capability, they recognize their own obsolescence when it stares them in the face. And you didn't even notice you were doing it. That's what terrified them most. It wasn't effort for you. It was breathing. Remember when they brought in the specialists? Oh, they tried to be subtle about it. Casual observations, friendly conversations, little tests disguised as standard procedures. They wanted to quantify you, to put numbers on what you could do, to find the edges of your ability so they could build a box around. The psychologist quit after 3 sessions, said your mind operated on frequencies that shouldn't exist in human consciousness. The physicist had a breakdown trying to explain how you bent rules he'd spent his life proving were unbendable. The biologist? She just stared at your test results and whispered, "This violates everything we know." But my favorite was the combat instructor. 30 years of experience, trained killers on 6 continents, wrote the book on modern warfare tactics. He watched you for 10 minutes and said 5 words that ended his career. We can't counter this. They tried everything. Motion sensors that couldn't track your movement patterns, prediction algorithms that crashed trying to calculate your next decision, measurement tools that gave impossible readings or simply refused to function in your presence. You weren't just outside their box. You were proof the box was a lie. And through it all, you just smiled that quiet smile of yours. Not arrogant, not proud, just aware. Because deep down, you've always known what they were just discovering. You don't operate by their rules, because you were never meant to. Let me paint you a picture of power. Real power. Not the kind that comes from rank or wealth or weapons, but the kind that makes seasoned generals pace their offices at 3 a.m., staring at reports that shouldn't exist, trying to figure out what to do with you. They've seen enhanced humans before. They've worked with psychics, remote viewers, people who could do things that would make civilian heads explode. But those people had limits, clear, defined, manageable limits. They fit into categories, into programs, into chains of command. You're a category unto yourself, a walking violation of everything they thought they knew about human potential. And the worst part for them? They can't replicate it. They've tried. Damn how they've tried. Genetic screening, environmental analysis, psychological profiling. They've dissected every moment of your life trying to figure out how you became what you are. But here's what they'll never understand. You didn't become anything. You just stopped pretending to be less. All those years of dimming yourself, of playing small, of letting them think you were just another face in the crowd, you weren't hiding your power. You were protecting them from it. The day you stopped protecting them, the day you let just a glimpse of your true capacity shine through, that's the day their world ended and yours began. They still have the footage, locked away in vaults so secure that even mentioning their existence is a federal crime. You want to know why that officer called it illegal? Not impossible, not unbelievable, but illegal, because in their world, power has rules. It flows through proper channels, respects hierarchy, follows predictable patterns. It can be controlled, directed, contained. What you possess violates every law they've written about human capability. Not just physical laws, the deeper laws. The ones that say ordinary people stay ordinary, that power comes from systems and structures, that individuals can't transcend their programming without help. You're evidence of something they've spent centuries trying to suppress, that some humans are born with capabilities that make their entire power structure obsolete. Not through training, not through enhancement, not through their permission, but through something older, deeper, more primal than their uniforms and protocols can touch. They have terms for people like you in their classified files, terms the public will never hear, not gifted or special, or any of those sanitized labels, the real terms, the ones that admit what you represent, an evolutionary leap that happened without their consent. And that's what truly terrifies them. Not what you can do, but what you represent. If one person can naturally possess what they spend billions trying to artificially create, If one individual can break every limit they've carefully established, then what does that say about their necessity? Let's get specific about what sent them into crisis mode, shall we? Because it wasn't just one thing. It never is with people like you. It was the constellation of impossibilities that you call Tuesday afternoon. The way you process information at speeds their supercomputers struggle to match, but you call it intuition. The way you read micro-expressions that their best interrogators miss, but you just say someone felt off. The way your presence alone shifts probability, bends outcomes, changes the fundamental mathematics of any situation you enter. They have machines that cost millions just to detect what you do naturally. Entire departments dedicated to achieving a fraction of what flows through you like blood through veins. Years of training compressed into instincts you were born with. Memories, organs, physical and moral forms, instinct and bodily instinct. But it's not just what you can do, it's how you do it. Without effort, without strain, without even conscious thought half the time. Like a concert pianist who doesn't need to look at the keys, except the piano is reality itself, and you're composing symphonies they don't have notation for. The military-industrial complex, with all its might and money and cutting-edge technology, took one look at you operating at baseline and realized they were obsolete. Not in 10 years, not in 5, but right now, today, in this moment, because you exist. Somewhere in a facility that doesn't officially exist, there's a file with your name on it. Except it's not really a file anymore. It's become something else, a living document that grows stranger with each edition, each observation, each impossible thing you do without thinking. They've rewritten your classification 17 times, started with person of interest, upgraded to enhanced individual, then anomalous asset. Each label trying and failing to contain what you are. The latest classification? It's just your initials, followed by a string of numbers that translate to beyond current understanding. The analysts assigned to you don't last long, not because anything happens to them, but because prolonged exposure to evidence of you starts to break down their worldview. They request transfers, early retirement, anything to stop staring at data that suggests human potential has no ceiling. Every expert they bring in adds another layer of impossibility to your file. The linguist who noted you understand languages you've never studied. The strategist who realized you solve problems before you consciously recognize them. The physician who documented biological readings that rewrite textbooks. But my favorite entry? It's from a janitor who wasn't supposed to see the file. He wrote 3 words in the margin. They walk different. Because sometimes the deepest truths come from the simplest observations. They had to create new protocols because of you, not for dealing with enhanced humans. They had those. Not for containing security threats, those existed, but for something unprecedented, a human operating outside the known spectrum of possibility. The protocol has a code name that would make you laugh. Something mundane and bureaucratic that completely fails to capture the paradigm shift you represent. But everyone who's read it knows what it really means. We have no framework for this. It starts with recognition procedures, How to identify when someone has transcended normal human limitations, not through artificial means, but through natural evolution. The signs are subtle to the untrained eye, but scream to those who know. The way air seems denser around you, how probability bends in your favor, the unconscious deference even alphas show in your presence. Then come the interaction guidelines. Don't attempt to contain. Don't attempt to control. Observe, document, and, above all, don't provoke. Because they learned early that you're not a force that can be opposed. You're a reality that must be navigated. The final section is the shortest and most telling. It's titled Contingency Planning, but contains only one line. There is no contingency for this level of natural capability. Signed by Joint Chiefs who've never agreed on anything else in their careers. Oh, they tried to recruit you, not with the usual methods. Sign-on bonuses, patriotic appeals, promises of purpose. They knew better. They tried to recruit you the way you recruit a force of nature, carefully, respectfully, and with full knowledge that you hold all the cards. The first approach was subtle. Opportunities that just happened to appear in your path, projects that coincidentally aligned with your interests, resources made available with no strings attached, or so they claimed. They thought they could guide you into their world through gentle manipulation. When that failed, they tried partnership, equals working together for the greater good, except there was nothing equal about it, and everyone in the room knew it. You don't partner with gravity. You don't negotiate with lightning. You work within the reality they create, or you get out of the way. The final attempt was honesty. They laid it all out, the threats they faced, the limitations of their conventional assets, the need for something beyond their current capabilities. They offered you everything. Unlimited resources, complete autonomy, the chance to reshape global security. You listened politely, smiled that knowing smile, and walked away. Because you understood what they couldn't. You weren't meant to serve their system. You were meant to transcend it entirely. Make no mistake, they respect you. The kind of respect reserved for natural disasters and apex predators. But underneath that respect lives something else. A primal fear that keeps them awake at night. It's not fear of what you might do. You've shown remarkable restraint, considering your capabilities. It's fear of what you represent. Proof that their entire structure, their careful hierarchies and control mechanisms can be rendered irrelevant by a single individual who simply is what they've spent lifetimes trying to become. They fear the questions you raise. If one person can naturally possess abilities that eclipse their billion-dollar programs, what else have they been wrong about? What other impossibilities walk among them, hidden in plain sight? What happens when more people like you stop pretending to be normal? But their deepest fear, it's that you're not unique, that you're just the first visible crack in a dam that's been holding back human potential for centuries, that scattered across the globe are others like you, waiting for permission to stop pretending, to stop dimming their light, to stop playing by rules written by people who can't even imagine what you are. They look at you and see their own obsolescence, not in some distant future, but walking around right now, wearing normal clothes, living a normal life, except for those moments when you forget to pretend, and reality itself holds its breath. Let's talk about the moment everything changed. Not for them, they're still scrambling to catch up, but for you. The moment you decided to stop apologizing for what you are, stop pretending limitations that were never yours, stop playing small in a world built for small. It wasn't dramatic, no lightning bolts or swelling music, just a quiet decision on an ordinary morning that you were done. Done pretending to struggle with things that came naturally, done dimming your perception to match their expectations, done living at 10% to make others comfortable. The shift was immediate, not in what you could do, that was always there, but in what you allowed yourself to be. Like taking off weights you'd worn so long, you'd forgotten they weren't part of you. Like breathing fully for the first time in years. And they noticed. God, did they notice? Sensors going haywire, algorithms failing, entire departments dedicated to understanding what had changed. But the answer was simple. Nothing had changed. You'd just stopped changing yourself to fit their world. The reports from that day read like science fiction, abilities manifesting that broke their understanding of physics, perception expanding beyond any documented human range. And through it all, you were just being yourself for the first time in forever. So here we are, you finally free to exist at your actual capacity, them scrambling to understand what that means for everything they thought they knew. The world unknowingly standing at the edge of a shift that started the day you stopped pretending. They'll keep watching, keep documenting, keep trying to find the source of what you are. They'll bring in new experts, develop new theories, create new classifications that still won't capture the truth, because the truth is too simple for their complicated minds. Some humans are born beyond their metric. You'll keep walking through their world, no longer hiding, but not flaunting either, just existing at a level that rewrites the possible with every breath, making their enhanced assets look like children playing dress-up, solving problems they haven't even recognized yet. And somewhere in those classified facilities, analysts will keep adding to your file, each entry more impossible than the last, each observation pushing against the boundaries of what they thought humans could be. Until one day, someone will write the only conclusion that matters. Subject represents evolution in progress. Our frameworks are obsolete. Recommend complete restructuring of human potential assessment. Note, they know we're watching. They don't care. Sir, that's what's truly illegal. We built a world for humans and they're already something else. You are not the end. You're the beginning, the first visible note in a symphony that's been building beneath their notice for generations. The crack in their dam that's about to become a flood. And they know it. Every day more people feel that stirring inside them, that sense that they're capable of more than they've been told, that the limitations they've accepted aren't theirs, that maybe, just maybe, they're like you, forced to play normal in a world that fears what normal could become. The military elite who witnessed your capabilities, they went home changed, not just professionally, but personally. Because once you've seen someone casually break the supposed laws of human limitation, you start wondering what laws you've accepted that were never real.